Ishsarat al-Floriana. The Floriana Parade Ground. Ishsarat al-Floriana dates back to the very early 1800s. On the 13th November, 1804, the two Maltese provincial battalions of infantry were reviewed on the Floriana Parade Ground, and were warmly commended in the general orders, issued on 14th of November, 1804, for their smartness, soldier-like appearance, conduct and steadiness, which would be highly creditable to any corps whatever. Marquis Parisi commanded the 1st Battalion while Count Gatta commanded the 2nd Battalion. The Floriana Parade Ground also hosted several other magnificent military parades throughout the 1800s and 1900s. In 1878, the parade ground was the scene of a grand review of 7,000 Indian troops, dispatched to Malta, to join with British forces. The Floriana Parade Ground, during the late 1800s. A close scrutiny of this photo reveals a few interesting clues about the area during the very early 1900s. This picture was taken in 1904 by Richard Ellis, one of the foremost photographers at the time. The photographer was standing on the rooftop of Auberge de Castile. The immediate building visible, just below the auberge, is the rooftop of St. James Cavalier. Clearly visible are the chimney stacks, and also the guardhouse. While the two circular spaces on the roof is where two huge stone water cisterns were built by the Royal Engineers, to supply water to St. James Cavalier, and surrounding area. Right in front of St. James Cavalier is the Floriana Parade Ground. The buildings at the top right of the ground are the Lintorn Barracks, which were built in 1903. The barracks were named after Governor of Malta, General Sir John Lintorn Simmons. Interesting to note, is that the Lintorn Barracks were intended to house soldiers of Irish descent, while the English regiments were housed at Mdafa. The soldiers were kept away as much as possible from each other, so as to avoid brawling. This connection with the Irish is a possible reason why Floriana has green as its color. While it certainly had an impact on the ancestry of the Floriana population, evident by their surnames. The white tents were used by regiments in transit awaiting transport to other ports. These were a common sight in Floriana, in those days. Beyond, you will notice the near-complete bareness of the country, giving an unobstructed view, up to the height of Nasharksa and the Rabat area. This photo and information were contributed by Joseph Piccinino and Melanie Drury. During the Great War, Maltese Labour battalions served in Mudros and Salonika, and a Cyprus contingent of the King's Own Malta Regiment of Militia served outside Malta. However, the prime contribution of the Maltese Islands to the war effort was a humanitarian one. Malta became the nurse of the Mediterranean. Floriana Parade Ground. This photo is undated, however, a retired military officer offered the following comments. I have followed up on the subject and believe that I have solved the date of parade puzzle. My deductions point to the Queen's birthday parade of Saturday 13th of June 1964. Primarily, it was clear that one had to establish the earliest and latest date parameters from photo detail. 1. Parade ground configuration. The latest possible date for photo is August 1964. This is evident from depth of area at the parade ground reserved for seated spectators. In July and August 1964, the steep slope from adjoining road, along Eel Mall, was transformed into a much deeper stepped stand to cater for the large crowds expected for the Independence Day ceremonies. Comparisons to photos of RMA Farewell Parade, of 26th of September 1970, clearly highlight this reduction of parade ground area. 2. Personal weapons carried by 8 detachments on parade. All the 8 are carrying the SLR rifle. This weapon was finally accepted into service in 1958. However, as a defining yardstick, it is to be noted that the first Queen's Birthday Parade, held on Horse Guards Parade Ground in London, where the Brigade of Guards carried the SLR on parade, was in June 1960. 3. The troops holding the ground are carrying the Lee Enfield .303 rifle. To note that the EMT retained this weapon up to disbandment in March 1972. From the above, the first definite deduction could be made. The parade photo must be dated between 1960 and 1964. 4. Parade format. It is noted that the parade commander and parade 2IC are both on horseback. This custom was only employed on the Queen's Birthday Parade. 5. Uniform detail. Troops on parade. All 8 detachments are wearing number 3 dress complete with forage cap. This excludes Royal Navy, Royal Marine Commandos, Scottish regiments and paras. May include Royal Air Force but excludes women's services, the police, civil defense and others. 6. Colors on parade. 2 sets are seen on parade. Other color party may have been posted with troops holding the ground, therefore, the second logical deduction is that the parade year required to coincide with the stationing in Malta of 2 infantry regiments of the line, during the same period. This coincidence only occurred once during the period in question of 1960 to 1964. It will be noted that the 1st Battalion, the Duke of Edinburgh's Royal Regiment, and the 1st Battalion Royal Sussex Regiment were both in Malta in June 1964. Hence the 2 sets of colours on parade. And finally, it so happens that I managed to rummage through reams of hoarded papers, and guess what? I actually found an official programme for the Queen's Birthday Parade of 13th of June 1964, which it appears to confirm the above. Hope this meets requirements. The Territorial Army regiments participated at several Malta independence parades at the Floriana parade ground during 1960s. The parade at Floriana, of September 1970, was the grand scene, marking the occasion of the Royal Malta Artillery leaving the British Army, with guns driving past, as the flags of the wartime regiments are lowered for the last time.